Good morning, Yankees fans. Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles. I'm Rob. I'm here with Uncle Tats Donald taking the day off. We'll hopefully get him back Friday for the awards. But the Yankees have made history again, becoming the first team in Major League Baseball to homer 3 straight at-bats twice in the same season. They've done it again as part of their history-making 15-3 destruction of the Orioles last night to make up for a near comeback victory in the first game of this series. So a nice bounce back from our Yanks, a nice bounce back from the offense, a nice bounce back from not even Rodon. He didn't bounce back. He was great. Once again, it's 3 straight starts in a row that he's looked very good. History in the making for this Yankee offense. Let's say a quick good morning to Dev, who gets the early bird award, unlike somebody who thought he had it. So, Sunil, you lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Brad was in the chat. He said he'll catch the replay. Jonathan, late again, my friend. Jonathan slacking as of late. John the Beagle Dad is here. FJ is answering the question in the title, which we'll get to momentarily. He says no. Stevie B is here as well. Doran is here. We got Stetson in the chat and Jared. What's up to everybody? Good to see you. And of course, as you pop in, say what's up. We'll say what's up back. So, Tats, how are we feeling about the game yesterday?
I thought yesterday was just what they needed after the shortfall from the first game. After they just were not able to solve a very depleted Orioles pitching staff. When you have in the first game, I had 9 strikeouts the whole season so far, and that's what really puzzles me about this team. Sometimes they'll make the worst pitcher on a staff look like the ace, and then the ace look pedestrian. It's really amazing how they're able to do that. But when you get to yesterday, it was when this offense is clicking, it's clicking. Because it wasn't just a matter of, they were able to put up all of these runs. A lot of the runs were not from the home run ball. There was a lot of traffic on base. And they still left runners in scoring. I think they had like 12 men left on base at the end of the game. So the damage could have been even more. But I'm not complaining about putting up 15 runs at all. Don't get it twisted. But it was really this. It's puzzling. It really is, because you'll have these outings. It's like, where was this yesterday? And then, tomorrow, they always say, momentum stops with the next starting pitcher, but this is something that the Yankees should be able to put up a lot of crooked numbers in an inning with the ability of these players to really work in at bat. Once in a while you are going to get those pitches, on the opposing team where you're like, he was on his game. And we saw that in the first game of the series. Especially when you're playing a division team, they're going to elevate to the level of the Yankees. That's just the way it is. The worst teams figure out a way to really get amped up for a game and do damage. We've lost series to a Marlins team, last year, where it was like, how did that happen? I really want to put the focus on Rodon, because here's somebody where a month ago we were like, what is his identity as a starting pitcher in this rotation? Where is he mentally without Cole in the rotation, even though Fried has pretty much picked up right where Cole would have left off? To have 3 solid outings in a row from Rodon, I did not expect it. And if the score was different, the inning where he lost the perfect game, he lost the no-hitter and the shutout all in one inning, you're just waiting for things to unravel. But because the offense put up so many runs, it's almost like you didn't even notice it, that he was starting to have that I don't want to say a struggle, but he was kind of straining that inning to really find that location. When you have a player that is having a game like that, and I don't know if you were listening to Susan Wallman, and She was saying she used to have this conversation with Mike Messina all the time, who had multiple close calls with the record books. When you lose that perfect game or a no, you're struggling to find the adrenaline again. It's not that they lost their stuff; it's just a totally different game now. And I thought Matt Blake was quick. I thought it was good coaching to go out there as quick as they did, also to kind of give him a chance to catch his breath.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to even realistically, if he didn't have the no-hitter perfect game, he probably wouldn't even been out there because the lead was so huge. He didn't need to extend him any longer in the game. But the fact that he did go nearly 6 perfect innings is pretty impressive. I mean, I've been saying for the last couple of shows now that we talked about Rodon, is like he's been a victim of one bad pitch per game.
Yeah.
Like the San Francisco game, the Detroit game, even the Arizona game, he's had that one bad pitch that's led to a 3-run home run that's really derailed what's been otherwise solid outings. So, and I think that goes to a point that we can talk about for a lot of different players. We can't get too, and I said this yesterday on Twitter, we can't get too worked up about stats at even 30 games in. There's 132 games to go, including tonight. I mean, a lot can happen between April 30th and the end of the season in September. So, you're seeing people on Twitter saying things like Bellinger, we have a problem with Cody Bellinger. There's a reason the Cubs dumped him on the Yankees. It's like, you can't get too worked up about that because 2 weeks ago, Anthony Volpe was supposed to be in prison, and now he's got very respectable numbers. Bellinger over his last 7 games has actually been very good. And Rodon went from a $27 million thief to now he's like, oh, well, this guy's a legitimate number 2. Like, it's been great. So you really can't get too worked up about the stats this early in the season because a lot's going to change. Like, Ben Rice is on an absolute tear right now. Eventually, he'll hit a little bit of a snag. That's baseball. Trent Grisham will hit a bit of a snag. Eventually, he already is heating up. So things like this are going to happen. We can't get too worked up about a player's stats 30 games into a season. There's 132 left to go. If this was basketball, maybe you get a little worked up about 30 games in, but we still have plenty of season to go. But it is nice to see certain guys that have to stepping up, because without them, we wouldn't be 18-11 right now, or 18-12, 30 games in. We wouldn't be in first place. We wouldn't have one of the best records in the AL. So these stats matter, but it's also important to not get too worked up if a guy is struggling through the first month, or if a guy's playing out of his mind, like Ben Rice and Trent Grisham, even Aaron Judge. It's important to know that even Aaron Judge is probably not going to finish the season hitting 400. If he does, that would be incredible. But I don't even expect that to happen for Aaron Judge. It's just we cannot get too worked up about these things, but we can also use that as kind of like what does this guy need to improve on, and what can he do to keep the success going? What can they do to get better? So it's just, that's what baseball is like. We're very reactionary, of course. We're Yankees fans. We always want the best out of our players. We want that immediate satisfaction from the person, but it's also important to know that a rough April or an up and down April for a guy like Bellinger isn't too much to get worked up on. There's still 4 other months to go, to 5 other months left to get better. And for Carlos Rodon, he's a perfect example of a person that you can't get too focused on his first 3 starts, because his last 3 have been absolutely brilliant. So it's been up and down for a lot of different players. And it might have been a salary dump, Dorn, but I'm talking about people that are saying the Yankees have a problem now. It's like he hasn't even had 100 at bats this season. Like he's got a very good chunk of season left to play, and yeah, it was a salary dump, and it was a steal for us, in my opinion, because I mean, who were the alternatives besides Tucker, which the Yankees didn't want to give? Yeah, you shouldn't be concerned, but he's actually on a tear as of late. If you look at his last 7 games, and it's kind of what you have to do for the first month. You got to go week by week. His first week was good. Second, third week, not so good. His fourth week has been really good. So there you go. He's had 2 good weeks and 2 rough weeks. He's been middle of the pack, basically, in terms of his first month.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was a home run derby, Jared, But I mean, because a lot of the runs were put up with just hitting the ball in the gap, hitting singles and doubles to keep the line moving. They only had, I think it was 6 home runs yesterday. Every starter did get a hit. I was glad to see at least Wells was, because he was the last man standing to get on the hit parade. And he was able to get that home run. But that's what makes the score that much more satisfying. Yeah, it's fun to see, 10 home runs in a game. But when you put up 15 runs on only 6 homers, then that just shows that the plate discipline for these players is sinking in. And that's when it comes that's where the focus goes to Bellinger. Even guys like Jazz, Volpe, some of these guys that have been dancing around the Mendoza line, where you look at the quality of the at bat, not the result all the time. Yeah, sometimes you do want to look at the result. If they're it doesn't matter if they're getting 10 pitch at bats, if they're not getting on base, with it, then after a while you're like, maybe you're being a little too selective. You can have the best of both worlds there, but 15 runs, that shows an incredible play discipline. That's what you're seeing from these guys that we're waiting to break out. That's why Bellinger's at bats, the numbers might not be there. But if you look at the quality of the at bats, you can just see that they are ready to go on those warm weather tears that we wait for. And that's just the way baseball is sometimes. There were articles a couple weeks ago when Judge's average at 415. Is Judge having the best season that baseball has ever had?
Right.
I mean, do you really think he's going to finish the season with 415?
If anyone could, it's him. But still, that's such a anomaly to finish with a 400 record. Like even the best hitters today, like Luis Arias is known as one of the better contact hitters. He's not even come close to that, I don't think. So
yeah, if that article came out when he's hitting 415 in September, yeah, you can get amped up about it. Not at the end of April.
Right. And again, Aaron Judge is in a different league of his own, but still we're talking about 400 batting average. It's like that's Ted Williams category. So it just goes to the earlier. Yeah, exactly. Because the last 400 hitter was Ted Williams. How long ago was Ted? None of us watched Ted. Maybe you did, but none of us watched Ted Williams play live. But in terms of Bellinger, like his last 7 games, he's hitting 269, 394 on base, 500 slug. It's a near 9. That's basically a 900 OPS. But we have a Bellinger problem. Like, how does that correlate? The guy has a 900 OPS and we have a problem. Like, he's a bad player. Like, this is why I can't get too worked up about stats, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but like, even if you look at his last 15 games, the OPS is above league average. So like, he's not that terrible as people would have you believe. He had a bit of a rough stretch. I know because he made the last out of the first game, we had a chance to come back. Everyone's like, oh, this was a terrible trade. But like nobody came through in the 9th inning, like besides Rice. So even Judge struck out. So we got to get rid of Aaron. We have a Judge problem too. Like I can't get too reactionary. It sucks that we lost that game. And yeah, it sucks that he's not on a tear, but did we not just spend like a week's worth of shows trying to tell Mets fans to come off the cliff because it's too early to be reactionary? I know Bellinger's not on the level of Juan Soto, but it was brought up earlier. He's an MVP, Bellinger. He's a rookie of the year. He's got pedigree. He had a really good season 2 years ago. And even last year, he was basically above league average. He wasn't as good, but he was an above league average hitter. The pedigree's there. You got to take what you get so far, which has not been great, I'll admit, but expect better because he's a good hitter. He's a good player. It's too early to get too reactionary. And a world champion, thank you, Sean. He's a world champion in 2020 and very good during that 2020 championship run.
Yeah, the 2020 run is really what got him his payday. That's how good he was. But yeah, it's definitely early. And one player that is really running out of time is Peraza. I want to switch it to him now, because unfortunately, because you never want an opportunity to come because of an injury. I think that's just kind of like a dick move. But with Jazz now with the flank strain, I don't know how much time he's going to miss, if any. It might be, I don't know if it's going to be a game or two, or they're going to IL him. I don't think that's been determined yet. But this is a chance now if they play their cards right, which Boone has more times than not this year really made the right decision. Is let Peraza play second and and really see what you have for, even if it's just for a series or two. This is the chance. We've all been saying, when is Bellinger going to when is Peraza finally going to break through? We've seen them pass up on him so many opportunities to replace a player. Being that he's out of options this year, if you're not going to do it now, then just cut him. You're just wasting this kid.
Yeah, it all depends on how long Jazz is out for, if he misses time at all. I hope he doesn't, because he hurt himself and then got a triple. If he does have to go on the IL for at minimum 10 days, just play Peraza. Yeah, play Peraza for 10 days, unless they maybe decide to finally give Vivas a shot. But knowing them, they'll call him up to sit him. But that's the only other thing I could think of, is they call up Vivas to have him get some playing time. But it should be Peraza. If they're looking at somebody on the roster right now to play second in Jazz's absence, potential absence, it'd be Peraza. And I would do it too, Jared, just to play it safe. Even if he's not that injured, it's April. It's about to be May. Let him get the week off. Give him a time. First of all, he needs a little bit of rest, because he's been up and down as well. He's been really struggling in the past couple of weeks now. So I think he needs the time off. Let him be 100%, and let Peraza play. And then eventually you're going to get DJ back, and we'll see what he is. I don't know what he's going to be, but no expectations there. But I'd call up Vivas, and over the next 10 days or so, if Jazz needs a little extra time, if not, if he comes back in 10 days, you have 9 or so games, whatever it may be. Play both of them as many times as you can. Play Peraza, play Vivas. You can have Cabrera DH. You can have Cabrera play the outfield a little bit if need be. He's very versatile in that capacity. So you can get them all at bats. I just want to see Vivas get a shot, but Peraza should be the guy that they get some at bats to in a player's absence. That's why they kept him. It should not be Pablo Reyes, I'll tell you that much. Yeah. So it's really now or never. And if not, this is his role, is just kind of utility off the bench. It's the only way they hold on to him. Unless a team comes calling and says, hey, we need a starter. What do you want for him? That's the only way. That's the only way I see them getting rid of him for now, because when DJ's back, it's going to be probably Reyes. And I think Peraza will stay unless they can put him in a trade for a bigger need. Like if they need a pitcher at the deadline or something.
Yeah, I don't have. I know that they're using Reyes a little more over the last series or two that we like. But Peraza, he's getting his chances not as frequently. But Peraza's been able to kind of make the most of when he is getting that opportunity. And real quick, Dev, gifting 5 memberships. Dev, thank you so much for the support. Appreciate you, my guy.
Like he is the early bird award winner, and deservedly so. Dev, thank you.
But they have to see what Peraza is, because even if they say Peraza really does succeed in this, at second base, all you're gonna do is just you're kind of restocking his stock, re-energizing his value. And that's where you may be able to have teams want to call him, because you don't have anything, there's nothing to do to him. You can't send him down. You don't want to just DFA him for nothing after everything that you put him through. And I don't think that that's what the Yankees want to do, which is why he's still here. So if it's not going to be now, then it's going to be never.
He's basically just like the guy waiting in the wings. What's up, Jake? Good to see you in the chat. I think TC popped in here. I think. Or Ken said hello to TC, but I didn't see him pop in the chat. So
I was like, when did he come?
yeah, I was like, where is TC? But maybe he'll pop in at some point. So here's a early hello to TC. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be Peraza. And no, I don't want them to call up Vivas to bench him. Believe me, Dorn. If they're going to call up Vivas, I've been advocating for him to play for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I want them to make the right decision. If they call up Vivas, he needs to play, and that might be at the expense of Peraza. But they also don't have too many options unless they called up Pereira, which wouldn't really make a lot of sense to call up an outfielder when an infielder gets hurt. So who else do you call up? Schumacher? Oh, he did get okay. TC got gifted a membership. That makes sense. You're on to something, Ken. You're on to it. We gotta keep an eye on who gets those memberships. But yeah, there's a lot of players that are making case, like Mungia. He had a really good spring. I just think if it's a 10-day minimum, it'll be Vivas because they've already used that fourth option they have on him, so they can just send him up and down now with no issue. And then next year they'll have something to worry about. But if they call him up, they gotta play him.
Yeah,
they gotta play him.
Last night I'm sitting, I'm like, what if they just use that spot for a pitcher to, in relief to kind of take the weight off of some of these guys and save a couple innings on their arm, but then you're shortening your bench. And I think you're only allowed a maximum amount of pitches of 13. So I'm like, all right, so that won't work. But if they do make the move to bring up Vivas, then it has to really be a strict platoon. Like, you can't just have one guy sitting for the whole 10 days. You really you have to. Now you're getting, Boone's got to be just a little more creative on how he manages through the game, whether it's a substitution at some point. I thought he made a really good move, trying to get some of the big guys off their feet. Even with the games that, like, with Judge 4 for 5, and he actually had a pretty quick hook on Judge. Says, all right, we're going to give you the last 2 innings off. I'm okay with that, especially because of the score. But like that, to what I was saying earlier, Boone's been actually really solid this year with his decisions. The one decision I do want to get into with Boone that could be criticized is the resting, more often than not, it seems, with Dominguez, because here's a guy you're really trying to see what you have in him, which we all know he can be, a stud for us in the field and in the lineup. Now, do you take any issue with the we've already had our issues with the substitutions in the game, but I think that's 5 times now he's not in the lineup. Meanwhile, Volpe's been playing every day.
They don't really have another option besides Volpe. You could say Peraza, but it's not like Peraza's tearing the cover off the ball either. So you can't sit Bellinger, even though he's been the one that's struggling out of all the outfielders, because you're paying the dude like $25 million. And how do you expect him to get better if he's playing on the bench? At the same time, you need to give Dominguez as many at-bats, because how do you expect to see what he is if he's sitting? Also, if you played him and sat Trent Grisham, then you're not riding the hot streak of Trent Grisham. You can't DH him because then you got to sit Ben Rice. And if you play Ben Rice at first, then you got to sit Goldschmidt. And if you sit Goldschmidt, you're taking one of your best bats out of the lineup. So it's this domino effect. Of course, I want to see Dominguez play every single day. I'm a huge fan of the kid. I want him to play every day, but I understand that there's only so many at-bats to give around. And one thing we've asked the Yankees to do is ride the hot streak. Currently, Trent Grisham is one of, not just one of the best players on the team, is one of the hottest hitters in the league right now.
Yep.
Same thing with Ben Rice. So you can't sit them. You don't want to sit Bellinger because, again, I know people are going to say, who cares about the money? Well, he was supposed to be the Soto replacement. Now, no one's saying that he's on the same level as Soto, but that was the left-handed bat to replace Soto in the lineup. you can't really. Dev again with 5 more. Thank you, Dev. My goodness, Dev going on a tear
If it's the
today.
lottery or something.
Yeah, you won't know, but there will be signs, and I guess Dev may have showed us some signs. And Dev Claus, we'll have to start calling him Dev Claus. That nickname is always reserved for Ken Claus, but Dev making a case. John got one. Congratulations, John. If you got one, let us know in the chat. That'd be awesome.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, there's this huge domino effect that you have to give at bats to Bellinger to make sure he doesn't sit too long, because you need your $25 million bat to get hot. Also, you need his glove. You need, obviously, Judge is going to play. You need to keep Grisham playing because he's hot, and you need to keep Rice playing because he's hot. You need to keep Goldschmidt playing because he's hot. So it's just like, what do you do? And it's a tough decision. I can't really blame Aaron Boone because he's doing what we want him to do, which is ride the hot wave, but at the expense of a player that we want to see play every day. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And it's not like Dominguez is a guy that can go play third or something. And even if you DH him, you can't put Ben Rice in the outfield. Ben Rice is limited to first base, DH, and maybe catcher. But then if you do that, Austin Wells has to sit. So it's just like, what do you do if you're Aaron Boone? I can't really blame him for this, but I understand the frustration because we do want Dominguez to be a part of this team for the long haul, and you do need to get him at bats. But I don't think it should be it's him versus Volpe kind of thing, because everyone's just kind of looking for an excuse to complain about Anthony Volpe lately, and I don't think that's fair. The backups to Dominguez are better than the backups to Volpe. Let's just put it that way. Do you want Peraza playing shortstop every day when he hasn't really hit very much, and they've given him some chances? I'm just saying, I like Peraza, but let's not act like he's Trent Grisham right now. He's not.
No.
That's why Trent Grisham's playing. He's been better than Bellinger. He's been better than Dominguez. He's been better than pretty much everybody not named Aaron Judge and Ben Rice. So you kind of have to play him. So it's a tough situation to be in if you're Aaron Boone. I can't really blame him, but I understand Dominguez is 21, 22 years old. He's going to be hopefully your left fielder for the next 15 years if everything goes well. You want him to get as many at-bats, but ride the hot streak, Aaron. And he's doing that, and now it's just like they're finding things to complain about. So I can't really blame him for doing it.
No, I think it's shame on the players for putting their manager in such a tough position, because and to what you were saying, what are you gonna you're gonna hit? You're gonna sit Grisham just to get Dominguez in the lineup to see if he can give you just a little bit more. Them are coming on the next day, and everybody in the chat, and don't deny it. Be like, this is Boone. This is typical Boone throwing ice on the hot hand. Why not just let him play until he's he starts to decline himself? Why are you putting the brakes on him? So it's really, if there ever was a problem for Boone to be facing this year, I'm glad it's this. And not who am I going to get in to get going? It's shit. I can't sit anybody. I can't play 13 people on the field.
Right.
I don't think Boone's ever been in this situation, and good for him. He's finally, because he's, as much as we say, the Yankees aren't going to win with him. We've heard we've heard everything. Boone's not that bad of a manager. He's had hiccups and he's had issues with some bullpen management, which he's been a lot better this year. I think he's really managed the arms well. Nobody's overworking right now. Nobody's getting, too much rest. He's really He's actually really managing well this year. Will it hold up? I hope so. But we already saw that a couple years ago where it was like Boone was, looking like manager of the year. And by the end of the season, it looked like it was his first time managing a game. So, just enjoy this ride while we can, because it could last a week, a month. Most likely, it's not going to last all season.
No.
He's going to. This is going to cool down. That's just the nature of baseball, and we're going to be pissed off when it does. We're all going to forget about how the season started, and become your typical reactionary fan.
And the thing is, like Dominguez has been good over his last week as
Yeah.
well. But you look at Grisham yesterday; he was 1 for 6, and he had a home run. So imagine if they sat Grisham and played Dominguez, and Dominguez went 0 for 6, and he was the only guy that didn't get a hit in the lineup yesterday. They would say, "Well, if you played Grisham while he was hot, now he's going to cool off." So again, the time to be mad about not playing Dominguez was last year when Verdugo couldn't hit his weight. So now it's kind of like you have a good problem because you almost have too many players that are hitting at the same time and not enough places to put them. It's a problem that we're kind of happy and mad to have because you want to see certain guys playing and you want to see the kids get a shot to play. Everyone says play the kids, play the kids. I don't know where they're going to put them right now because Grisham has to play. Again, like I said about Bellinger, you can't really sit him because then you're putting $25 million on the bench and a day off, sure, but I don't know. I think today Dominguez is going to play tonight. He's going to play tonight. It's just weird. Morning, Dad. Ollie, what is Ollie saying? What is the update news? We don't know yet, actually, Ollie.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get something soon.
Yeah, we know he came out with a flank strain. As far as time missed, that has not been released yet. But if any updates do come along while we're on the air, then we'll be more than happy to share that with everybody.
Yeah, and back to the earlier point, like we don't know like when's Grisham's cold streak going to happen. Again, you got to ride the hot. Bellinger's been on fire over his last week, so you don't really want to sit him. And Volpe's been hitting really well over his last week. You don't want to sit him. So you have too many guys hitting at the same time. What's up, Cold Italian Pizza? What's Ken saying here? If you want to look at Volpe, he's Dansby Swanson during his first 3 years. Both are a war of 3, up and down hitting. Both are durable. I've been saying now for basically since middle of last year is that if Volpe's ceiling turns out to be average hitter with plus defense, you're going to take it.
I'm okay with that.
That got Dansby Swanson a pretty damn good contract from the Cubs. So there's a place in baseball for an average bat with the plus glove. And Anthony Volpe, like we said, he's hot and then he's cold. And there's never really an in-between for him. It's either red hot or ice cold. He's kind of just the Katy Perry song. There's no middle ground with him. And I don't know how to explain it because, like I said earlier, a week ago, he looked lost. And now he's tearing the cover off the ball again. So, again, ride the hot while you can because you don't know how long it's going to last. But if that's what Anthony Volpe is, he'll probably level out with league average numbers across the board, which is fine offensively. But his defense has been superb. Yesterday, he was making plays look easy out there to a point where Pete Simonetti was like, "Just give him the Gold Glove now. It's over." If anyone watched Pete's streams, you'll hear him, and he's kind of right. He's been playing outstanding defense now for 3 seasons at shortstop, and if that's his ceiling, fine. I'm fine with that. Is it what we expected out of one of the top prospects in baseball? No, but you know what? There's a lot worse you can do with Anthony Volpe. He could be a below average hitter and a decent glove, but if he's an average hitter with a plus glove, sign me up for that. I'll take it compared to the alternative, which was below average with the bat and just okay defensively. That's what people thought he was going to be. His defense was never really highly regarded coming up. It was his bat, but it's kind of flipped. So this might be what he is, hot and cold hitter with a really good glove no matter what. And you've made that Belliard comparison like 8 times now, Sunil. We get it.
But the one I do agree, comment from Sunil, I do. Not everybody's going to hit like Derek Jeter at shortstop. We've made this argument for the closer role. Where the Yankees got spoiled with guys like Mariano Rivera. Because those don't come around. Like those are generational. That's generational talent. Where you got to wait a whole generation to see that type of player again, right? We all know the meaning. It's like every first baseman comparing them to Donnie Baseball. It gets to the every center fielder being compared to DiMaggio. It's you kind of got to take what you get. Not everybody is going to just carry the mantle. player by player and still play to the same caliber of what we're used to. So that's a big, I think that's a part of why Volpe gets I don't want to say the hate, because people do root for him to be better. But
A lot of
I'll
people
say
hate on
that's
him.
why he gets a lot of the criticisms that he does.
It's unnecessary criticism too.
Yeah.
Only because he's a local boy, and I'm so sick of hearing that because
Oh my.
if that was the case, then they would just sign nothing. They would have extended Todd Frazier because he was in the Little League World Series next to Derek Jeter. If I had to see that picture one more time during the 2017 season, I was going to break my television. But no, but Ken, this is a very fantastic point. Gunnar Henderson is struggling to start the season. Are Orioles fans ready to give up on him? Is baseball ready to stop calling him one of the best players in all of the sport right now? No. This is why we can't get too worked up about early season numbers, because Gunnar Henderson is being outplayed through the first month. So is Adley Rutschman by Wells and Volpe. Does that mean that Wells and Volpe are the superior player? Probably not. But also, we're a month in. Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman are two of the best players at their positions, and they're both off to kind of not so great starts. No one expects that to keep up. No one in baseball will tell you, "Oh yeah, that Gunnar Henderson, he stinks now." After a rough, exactly. So this is why I can't get too worked up about Bellinger having a rough start or Volpe being hot and cold. Even Jazz, I can't get too worked up about that because he's a guy that could finish the season with 35 home runs with the pop he has, especially when the weather gets warm. There's a lot that can happen when the weather warms up. We know this. Aaron Judge might finish with 50 by July at this rate. It's just it's a lot is going to happen in the next couple of months. So I think, again, to repeat myself again, which we got to chill about stats at this point. We can get happy about a few players, of course, but let's not get too worked up about it because a lot is going to change between now and even the All-Star break. The long season, Jared.
It's also like when, I know we're on a tight schedule for ourselves today, but I want to circle to this before we head out. It's like with the, everybody always complains about, and I was one of them for a while. Why are you changing the lineup every day? Well, you're also trying to figure out the best flow through an order. And what we saw over the last few games, the Grisham, Judge, and Rice 1, 2, 3 really seems to be working. I think that's really given Judge the best opportunity to have a legitimate at bat and not have them pitch around them.
It seems like whenever it's working, we're like, don't change it. And then one game goes by where it doesn't work. And you're like, we need protection for Aaron Judge. So whatever we had yesterday, I mean, again, that could change today because Rice could lead off. I don't know who we're facing on the Orioles. Like, who do the Orioles have pitching today? If anyone knows off the top of their head, I didn't check yet. But if we're facing a lefty, then Goldschmidt might lead off. If we're facing a righty, then it could be Rice because I believe Dominguez. Well, Dominguez should play today.
Going against Povich.
He's a righty, or is he a lefty?
He's a left-hand pitcher, so it's going to be a different. You're already looking at a different lineup.
Different lineup today, so it'll probably be Goldschmidt, Judge, and then maybe Rice bats third.
Yeah, and he's got a 5.04 ERA, so you might scratch a run across.
Yeah, lefty with a high ERA, that's spell for disaster for us. But hopefully, we prove. I think we're going to be able to. I hope we win this series. Let's end the month on a high note, right? But that's going to change the lineup. So Goldschmidt will probably lead off.
Yeah.
Then Judge, and then you'll probably see Dominguez batting fifth or sixth or something like that. Volpe's going to play, and maybe we'll have Peraza batting ninth or something, playing second base. Or maybe they start Pablo, or maybe if they put Jazz on the IL, maybe this will give a chance for Vivas to play, and they can sit Cabrera because he can't hit left-handed pitching. So maybe that's a way for them to get an at-bat to some people there.
No, the sad part is, called Italian pizza, is it's freaking true.
Yeah, it's not even a joke.
Jared, I don't know if you caught the very beginning of the show. We were actually joking about that, to kick it off, where, you see these outings and it doesn't make sense. Like the first game of the series, the name's escaping me of who they had start.
Sugano.
But And here he was having nine strikeouts through the entire season so far. Completely shut down the Yankees. They were striking out. I think he finished his outing with 8.
He was great.
Yeah. So you never know when your opponent is really just going to bring their best because they're playing those pinstripes. We've seen it so many times. So that's what makes the joke funny but true. Is the Yankees, because it could be a 1-0 final tonight. Because even with Carrasco on the mound, he can carry the same energy Rodon had. How many times have we seen that?
Carrasco's been pretty good lately. His
He's
last few
actually
starts,
really solid.
So I'm hoping that keeps up. Obviously, his season stats still don't look great. What has he got? Like a 5.2 ERA, but I think his last 3 starts have been solid. I'll say that. Just he's done exactly what you would expect his last 3 starts. He's around 4 or 5 innings, maybe a little bit more. But if he can do that again tonight, you know who we haven't really talked about? He only made 1 appearance, but his first appearance in a non-ninth inning situation, Devin Williams looked pretty good.
Yeah,
the other night.
He seems to be more comfortable without the pressure, and that's fine. I'm actually in favor of that. Don't have it rest on his shoulders. Let him figure out, what's working right now, because he really needs to work on his changeup. When the airbender doesn't bend, it goes all the way in the air. It's a corny joke, but it really is. It's the reality of it.
What's up, NFE? What's up, Lou? Let's not forget the O's left their pitcher into die. I mean, it was like 4 homers in the first inning. I mean, it was basically game over from that point. Mark's in the chat. The Yankees never did well with the pitcher. Yeah, you're right. Mark's
especially a lefty.
Right about that. Yeah, I'm saying it's a recipe for disaster. Lefty that with a high ERA that we haven't seen yet this season. We're either going to tag him for 9 or he's going to throw a no-hitter or a shutout. Like that's how it's going to go. That's just how the Yankees are. But yeah, Devin Williams looked really good the other day. And I'm hoping that gets him going, because even if he doesn't go back into the closer role and he's just a really good 8th inning pitcher, like I said the other day, our bullpen is going to be better because of it. Because you need to lock down the final 3 innings. When it comes to like the playoffs, you need to get at least 6 from your starter. Ideally, you get more, but you need to find a way to lock down the final 3 innings. You need to have, we thought we had the 8th and 9th dealt with Weaver and Williams. Weaver was great. Williams wasn't so great, obviously. Still plenty of time for him to fix that, and I think he will. I think the other night was a really good start. Sorry, Sunil just threw me off. Yeah, let's just hope that the rest of the way through we get this from Devin Williams. And you're right, Dorn. He did. That's a good point from Dorn right there. He built himself up as Hader's main setup man. So maybe this is what his role is going to be for us for a little while. If Weaver does hit a wall, then we know if Devin Williams is hot, we can kind of switch it back to the way it was, and maybe it works then. But I think the other night was a good start for him because he was horrific his previous 2 outings, and then he comes out the other night and looked great. So maybe not the pressure's off of him. He can work on a few things and get back to the player that we know he is, because he is a 2-time reliever of the year award winner. So it's not like he doesn't have it's not like he doesn't have the pedigree. We talked about that with Bellinger earlier.
Yeah, it's I like I said earlier, Boone has probably some of the best problems a manager can ask for, because even if especially with the point brought up with Hader, and Williams, it's not like at least we're not in a situation where we don't have anybody else with the pedigree to take over the closer role. Then we'd be in trouble. Now then you're scrambling to find somebody who can close the game. And we're seeing a different guy every night until something clicks. So it made I think that's also what made the decision what made Boone make the decision a lot quicker than you would normally see, is because we have guys like Weaver that can, right? Oh, you want me to close? No problem. You want me to throw an extra, you want me to extend, go an extra inning? No problem. Like he has these arms that are ready to do whatever's asked of them. And so far, more often than not, they're succeeding in it.
Yeah, and if he brought it up earlier, the bullpen's incomplete because we still don't have Cousins, we still don't have Loizaga, and those two guys are coming back. So the bullpen's going to get even better, and there's some more tough decisions that had to be made. We already had to make a tough one getting rid of Yoendrys Gomez, or Gomes. I really wish they didn't, but he's a Dodger now. And when we get Cousins back, I'm sure Matzik will probably be the first to go because he hasn't looked good, but it's only 2 outings, so I'm not going to get too worried about that. And yeah, Yarbrough is a great point, Doran.
Yarborough's been really good.
Outside of like 1 or 2 rough outings, he's been reliable. Like he's given us innings. He gave us innings the other night. So there's a lot of things to work on with this bullpen, and it's incomplete, but yet it's been good. Like I can't outside of the Devin Williams struggles, the bullpen's been fine. And it's incomplete when we get if we get a healthy Loizaga. If he stays healthy, he's gonna be good. We know that. He was good last year, but he got hurt after like 2 innings. So he needs to stay healthy.
Yeah, you almost forget he came back last year.
Right. He threw. They wanted him as a multi-inning man, which was a bad idea from the jump because he can't stay healthy. And immediately they regretted that decision because he was bad, or he wasn't bad. He got hurt, and it's just been the case for him. If healthy, he is like a top pitcher. I don't know about top 10, Doran, but he is certainly one of the better in terms of stuff. He's like,
I would say before he got really nailed by the injuries over and over again, when he first came up, absolutely. But I don't know why they tried putting him, stretching him into to eat innings, because he was a starter and he would only have 1 good inning. He'd do well in the first and then unravel, which is why it was a very easy transition for him into the bullpen. So he's a 1-inning pitcher. That's it. Whether it's 3 pitches or 30, he'll give you the full inning and be fine. But once that inning's over, you got to get the next guy up. That's just Loizaga, and that's fine.
Right.
That's 95% of the relievers are in that category.
Yeah, and it's kind of like with Dellin Betances. It's like he didn't make it as a starter, and then once they gave him that 1-inning role, whether it was 7th, 8th, or 9th, he was brilliant. I love Dellin Betances. I wish he would have stayed a Yankee, but he also dealt with some injuries, and Randy Levine, that dickhead, treated him wrong, so he made him leave. But if Loizaga can just be healthy, our bullpen's going to be really good. And if you have a healthy Loizaga, a better Williams, and Weaver closing it out, that's the 7th, 8th, and 9th is locked down. And you got guys like Hill. Yarbrough has done his job in long relief and middle relief. Hill's been great. Hamilton's looked really good. Fernando Cruz has been an absolute dream to watch so far after a terrible spring. He's been outstanding. The bullpen's going to be fine, and they have other guys they can maneuver up and down on the Scranton shuttle if need be. So I'm not worried about the bullpen. It's just exciting to see that we have guys on the come up, and if we can get Devin Williams back to what he was a year ago or 2 years ago, because let's not forget he was also hurt last year for the first chunk of the year. We can get him back to his usual form. This bullpen's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, I think that's the one constant season, going into every season. The bullpen's never too much of a concern. I mean, to say it's not a concern, I think is negligence. But it's, one of the anything. Shout out to the fellas. Appreciate the $2 super chat. Appreciate you, my guy. If you missed the After Dark, NFE jumped in with me, and the two of us had a really good conversation about mental health, and then retired numbers, which is something the two of us always enjoy going back and forth about. So make sure you go back and check out that show. There's a lot of good information out there in that show. But the bullpen is never it's never something you go into a season going, this bullpen it's just lacking. It's just a matter of, all right, who's healthy. Because whoever they have, because if anybody would have said, Yarbrough is going to have the season that he did, the season that he's having so far, you'd be, one, I think you'd be lying. If you thought he was going to be there. Same thing with guys like, Leiter Jr., who's had, some hiccups here and there, but is having a very solid year coming off the postseason.
Yeah.
Because the postseason, him and Weaver were lights out.
Yep.
It was him, Weaver, and Hill. Really, what they locked down that the back end of the bullpen. And it was amazing in off season, we forgot all about it.
Yeah. And again, the bullpen is going to be fine. Some people might want to trade everybody in the bullpen, but no, that's their opinion. But on that note, we are on a bit of a tight schedule today, so we are going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat with us this morning to talk a Yankees win and a little bit of a Yankees loss. And hopefully the Yankees will be getting the victory tonight, wrapping up April the right way. Getting win number 19 on the year would be certainly a good thing. And we can have the awards on a high note for Friday morning show. So make sure you get your pens and papers ready, pens and pencils, whatever you want to use to write, honestly, because Donald will be back. We'll have the awards. He'll be leading the charge for that episode. And we'll be getting, hopefully, the end of April awards in as well. Let's break down each month. Why don't we do that? Why don't we make that a thing right now? Here's the announcement. After each month, we're going to have our monthly awards. That sounds like a good idea, right?
I like that.
Let us know in the chat how you feel about that. We can get more interaction with you guys that way as well. But that is going to wrap it up for us here at the Pinstripe Chronicles. Thank you again to everybody. Make sure you're hitting that like, hit that sub, hit that notification bell. Share this out with your friends, your family, and who else, Tats?
The strangers on your corner.
That's right. So we will see you all Friday. Have a good day, everybody. Let's go, Yanks.